Let's get to the back where Mean Gene is with Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect, talking to them about their second round matchup. A lot of kind of Piper Hart WrestleMania 8 vibes here, where they're telling a story. It's two faces. They have a history, not a family ties and more of a growing up together history, but we had a classic match not too long ago history. And Mean Gene just here stirring the pot, man. He's stirring up some shit. And Mean Gene like doing a heel turn.
Yeah, I loved it pretty much. They didn't try to sweep anything under the rug. They brought up their previous matches and everything. Perfect showing how to keep his edge, and we'll go more into that as the match goes on. But really, really good stuff.
I do like how they brought up SummerSlam, like specifically. Like I really do. Like they didn't ignore that and just or speak in vague generalities. And of course they had a your dad beat up my dad argument, which that's great. Can't have a bad promo when you talk about Larry the Axe Hennig and Stu Hart duking it out.
Valid, perfectly valid.
Oh yeah. So we get in that match, and it's Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect. I mean, guys listening to the podcast, you know what we're going to say about the match. I was about to say, it's like when you put Rey Mysterio and Psychosis together, the matches are going to be great.
Wow.
But stay tuned for maybe a couple months when we review Road Wild 98. That might not be the case. But anyway, they're doing all their greatest hits. I mean, it was all the quintessential excellence of execution moves, all of Perfect's famous maneuvers. It was, like I said, it was a great face-on-face, 50-50 battle. And then you start seeing Perfect do a little more heelish stuff, going back to the classic Mr. Perfect, some bending of the fingers, some joint manipulation, all that good stuff. But yeah, overall, I don't know, like for most of the match, I was intrigued and I dug it.
Yeah, I think finally getting the spin of both guys being on the face side of things was a nice spin after seeing these guys work together so much. But Perfect really put on a clinic here for any guy that is looking to see how you keep your character intact no matter which side of the fence you're on. I think he did a great job of staying Mr. Perfect, even though he was a good guy, quote unquote, here, but he kept enough of his own persona here to not lose anything like so many guys do in today's era.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's one of your big pet peeves in wrestling. Talk about me with odd intervals on time limit draw foreshadowing. I know yours is, I'm not a evil, heel now. I got to be, kissing babies and, showing up at kids' birthday parties and singing them happy birthday. Like there is a middle ground and you can stay true to your identity. So I agree with you. Perfect. Like I said, he's still Mr. Perfect, even when he's not aligned with the Heenan and Flair and those guys. He's still Mr. Perfect despite getting cheered.
Exactly.
So I love the suplex to the outside spot, by the way. That actually looked like it hurt like hell. That's how you do the kind of the suplex where the momentum takes him over to the outside. That was good shit.
Yeah.
So the match ends when Hart reverses a small package and wins. I mean, kind of, like the Razor Ramon match, he wins not on a, signature move. There's no sharpshooters here. It's, reversing a pinning combination and he wins. Meltzer would give it 4.25 stars, actually a higher rating from him than their SummerSlam match. I don't disagree with 4.25 stars. I think that's fair. I like the SummerSlam match better. I do like the face heel dynamic more than the face, but I mean, they're very similar. What were your thoughts on it?
At the time, I thought it was great. I mean, just seeing those two in an unexpected match, but definitely different dynamics. If you read Bret's book, he actually calls this their best match ever that they ever had. So that's an interesting take from Bret. Mm-hmm. Bret's book is great for anyone that hasn't read it, very in-depth, although he is very high on himself, I must say. Yeah. He is not afraid to compliment himself, and he did say this was their best match ever. I loved the match at the time. I think if you read the book, actually, since you brought up the sharpshooter thing, Bret said that he was actually told to not use the sharpshooter at all on this night for whatever reason, no real reason given, but he was told not to use it, which is why we saw so many different finishes. But as far as this match goes, like I said, it could have gone either way, and I was a big fan. 91, I think I might have been a little maybe more excited about because it seemed like the Intercontinental title change was such a big deal. Mm-hmm. And seeing Bret win a title for the first time was also a big deal. So I was pretty big on that match.
Yeah, and I just feel heel perfect in 91. I mean, he's still great. He's still kind of on top in that role, and you just don't think that Mr. Perfect's going to lose, and Hart winning, I think, added to that. Whereas this one, like, I don't know, I feel like Bret Hart kind of had to win this one. I thought there was a little bit more uncertainty in the 91 match.
Yeah, definitely. And I did love how Mr. Perfect lost like a badass, even because there's a lot of shit and cussing afterwards. I really like that. And like I said, Mr. Perfect puts on a clinic here for how to stay a badass, even if you have to be a good guy, because he even shakes hands like a badass after the match. And I think that is a plague, especially even on the indie scene. Nowadays, when guys have a good match, they have to hug in the ring and cry and just, oh my God, they're just so emotional. But Mr. Perfect here shows how it can be done with respect and still be a badass. Big fan of that.
Yep. Truly one of the greatest of all time. Like, truly. There's very few times when you're like, oh yeah, Mr. Perfect, just that sucks. That one of his last Raw appearances, notwithstanding, I can't remember the Taz match or Austin. I can't remember who it was. Outside of that, assuming he's sober and he was good, I mean, it was hard to beat Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, he got it. He knew who he was and how to deliver.
So the match went about 19 minutes. So it was a long match, and you're starting to see this Bret Hart. Once again, that road gets tougher. He goes, 11 minutes with Razor Ramon and sneaks out a victory after getting, beat up. And then he gets into a 4.25 star classic, if you will, with Mr. Perfect going nearly 20 minutes. So they're starting to build the story here that it's an uphill battle for Bret Hart to get through this King of the Ring, which is not too uncommon in these tournaments where you have this, you want to build up an underdog story here for the face.